Good evening. Let me be the first to wish you Happy New Year. I'm Bob Bruce. Welcome to a special edition of Twin Cities Live. In a little more than an hour, it will be 1988. But before we move into the new year, let's pay tribute to 1987. You've made it a great year, and we would like to give back to you what you have given to us. Unforgettable memories on Twin Cities Live 1987. It was a year full of surprises, inspiration, and some unexpected emotion, but always fun. We've started many a morning with a laugh.
My family was probably where my humor came from. They were not funny, but they were funny, but didn't know it. I'll give you an example. My father was Irish, and everything he did was right. And he hooked up a doorbell in our house that was hooked up backwards, so that it rang all the time, except when you pressed the doorbell. And it just had a constant hum to it until it stopped. So we would sit there listening to the radio or television and hear this all the time. And it would stop, and my dad would say, "Oh, I'll get it."
You really liked that one, didn't you? You're just about to die.
They also had a cuckoo clock, which my son gave to them, and on the hour, of course, cuckoo, cuckoo. And it was bothering my mother, and she said to my father, you know, will you stop the cuckoo clock, because it really is annoying all night. And he said, fine. Now I go, and I'm lying in bed, and I hear this, good Martha, and I thought, what is that? Now, my dad, instead of stopping the clock, scotch taped the door shut. So, on the hour, this cuckoo is going, banging against this door, which is more annoying than actually coming out and going cuckoo.
Television just doesn't sort of, I mean, it's a totally different world.
Well,
How do you change from when
change.
you walk from...
We didn't change, though. You see, that's the beauty of it all. I have a 2 hour in the morning, an hour and a half in the morning work, what we call work time. We have about 2.5 hours in the afternoon. So it doesn't matter to me whether I run a television network or scrub a floor. It's the same. As long as I'm working for the Lord, what's the difference? Television isn't that hard. You just sit there.
Mother Angelica, that may be true, but don't say this. My boss may be watching this show. But when you're writing about your husband, I just think in my own situation, if I had to write things about my wife, I think I'd be very careful. Is that a delicate area?
No. He's fair game. 38 years we have been married to one another, and I figure my marriage is really stable at this point, because we're not going to part. We're not going to separate over some dumb thing that I've done, because we need one another to finish a sentence. We just it's terrible. It's
he's
terrible.
probably the guy that he helps around the house and with all kinds of chores and fixes things.
He doesn't fix anything. He's in the book, though, because he's one of these persons, one of these men who go around, and in every room in the house, just because there's no one in the room, he turns the lights off. Now, this is stupid. I mean, he goes around all the time, you know, there's no one in this room, click, 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 turns the lights off. I call him the Prince of Darkness. It's incredible. It's just, he came to me one morning, this is true, and he does it with the thermostat. I hate this. I just hate this. I'm a very cold-blooded person. I mean, I'm cold as we sit here now. I mean, and he goes around, and I turn the thermostat up, he turns the thermostat down. So one morning, as I'm sitting at the breakfast table, I turn up the parka on my bathrobe, and I said to him, you know, Bill, this has got to stop. This house is cold, and I'm afraid to fall asleep. I mean, something has to be done here. And he looked at me and he said, nonsense. He said, you have the body of a 20-year-old woman. And I said, I should. That's the year you froze it.
What would it take for you to get married?
A pair of socks, and you should have told me we were going to wear suits.
If they were going to have sex, that they'd be at least open enough to talk about it before they had it, and that he'd realize that it's just as much his responsibility.
You know,
Any
let
of
me
you
just say
gentlemen?
one
Go
thing.
ahead.
Talking about it, that's the key. because I hear so many girls say, oh, it's so romantic just to let it happen. Well, I have news for you. It's not romantic just to let it happen. It's stupid just to let it happen. And people say, oh, I wanted to be spontaneous. Well, I've never heard of a spontaneous boy. He's planning and organizing this thing for years.
Gentlemen, you want to respond to that?
No, it's true.
And the world heavyweight champion is going to assist me in just showing a couple of holds.
The move used in a lot of wrestling matches is called the top wrist lock, where the pressure is on the elbow and on the wrist, which I'll apply a little bit of pressure, and you can probably feel it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a double wrist lock over the top.
Guy down, there's always a leg you can go for. Legs like to bend a lot of tricky ways.
He's got pressure on the ankle now. Wow, but
Yeah, the pressure's kind of in the ankle there, and on down into the leg. No, I didn't know it's not supposed to go that way, I don't think.
there he is, a twisting toe hold.
I didn't want to hurt you. Seriously. Come on up.
That's okay,
man.
Thanks a lot.
I'll help you out.
Oh, a good Henning move. Airplane spin. Let him down nice and easy.
Cut him down.
You know, one thing that we can always count on Twin Cities Live is that the people of the Twin Cities will have a definite opinion. But not always do they agree. You've set off some real sparks when we've tackled some heated issues. We can never really predict what anyone is going to say. What are the evils that you believe are afflicting our youth today?
The four main sins of college students are illicit sex, what the Bible would call fornication or lust. Secondly, drunkenness. Thirdly, dope. And lastly, rock and roll music. The fact of the matter is,
okay, go ahead,
that most college students have their minds between their legs. Their brains have dropped down into their genitals.
Which do you get more pressure on? More pressure on drugs and alcohol, or more pressure when it comes to sex?
Sex.
I don't know.
I'd have to say sex. I mean, especially from the guys. It seems like guys look for two types of girls. No, they do. They look for two types of girls, the kind they're going to sleep with and the kind they're going to go out with.
Now, wait a minute. There's still the good girl, bad girl classification?
Yes, there is. Whether you guys want to agree with it or not, it's still there.
Do you ladies agree with that?
No.
That there still is a double standard, so to say? Stand up here. Go ahead.
But isn't it the girl's decision? I mean, they don't have to do it if they don't want to.
Thank you. That is so wrong.
Jessica?
That's really outdated to say it's the girl's choice. That is so wrong because it takes two, guys. I'm sorry.
No, wait a minute. But if the girl doesn't want to lay down, if the girl does not want to lay down, she's not going to lay down.
But let's talk about today and Halloween and Wiccans and how do you feel when she says that her religion is just as much a religion as yours is?
I believe it's a religion, that's for sure. But there is a reality that I serve Jesus Christ in a relationship to Him. There's a spiritual reality that. There is a spiritual reality to what Selena worships and what she's involved in. But that same spiritual reality for her is the same. She may not conceptualize it, she may not involve herself in it, but it is the same spiritual reality as the Satanist.
It is not. It is not. And I strongly object to that. I really strongly object because what I honor is the divine that is all present. And I think if you really look at your beliefs and look at the love that is the divine in Christianity, you will see that that's the same that I honor. And I really object you trying to judge my beliefs without even knowing me and knowing where I'm coming from. I honor the divine. God, Goddess, Great Spirit, the Tao is everywhere.
You have no identity outside of what you are there as a Krishna. You don't even have your own name.
May I ask you a question? What is your identity?
I have
What
an
is your identity?
My identity is Nancy Howell.
What does that mean?
That is who I am.
No, it isn't. That's this body. You are not this body.
Let me talk about...
If you cut off your hand, have you lost your
Let
identity?
me, I have the floor. It's my turn.
Okay.
If I could just respond to the
Go ahead,
day in
Bill.
court here. She has never been to court on this issue. All that she was entitled to was a hearing in front of the deputy chief, hand-picked, of course, by Chief Boza.
That is not
she
true.
hardly had
That
her
is
day
simply
in
not
court.
true.
It's
She's
Deputy
not
Chief
entitled to it.
Luciani held the hearing. He was the only person. He acted as the prosecutor, he acted as the judge, and he acted as the jury and made the recommendation to Chief Boza. It's hardly a day in court. It's a day in court the same effect that Hassenfuss had a day in court in Nicaragua.
I wanted to say one thing about breastfeeding. It's nonsense to say that pediatricians support it, because I'm a La Leche League leader. I have mothers who come to my group. They have one little gripe. They have one little, not gripe, they have one little problem with the nursing relationship, and what does a pediatrician say? The first thing, bottle, bottle, bottle. Ditch the, you know, and so it's nonsense. It is, from my experience.
Even if you're nursing, the pediatrician says, it's nature's perfect food, but it doesn't have enough vitamins in it. So you better give the baby vitamin C or vitamin D.
Pediatricians do not say that. The American Academy of Pediatrics, that has a group of experts on infant nutrition, uniformly recommend breastfeeding for all newborns, and routine use of vitamins and infant vitamins is not recommended for breastfeeding.
Well, I can tell you, Sue,
well, it's not
that
in our practice.
that I have developed such negative attitudes toward bottle feeding that when I see a mother bottle feeding her baby, I feel that's a disgusting habit that should not be carried out in public.
This really bothers me. We are individual people that are supposed to learn responsibility as small children. You're saying let the bars be more responsible. I was taught to be responsible. Yes, I'm with MAD, I go out, and I do drink. My husband drives or someone else. Before I go out, I say to myself, now what are you going to do, Sharon? Who's going to drive for you? You have to be responsible. You have to be, not the bar, you do. The next thing I have to ask, you say treatment doesn't help or treatment isn't the answer. I'm really serious. What can we do to stop you? Your first time, you could have killed someone. I don't want you to kill yourself or anyone else. I'm very serious. I'm thinking of you. I don't want that to happen. How can we stop you from doing it? What can we do? that to happen? How can we stop you from doing it? What can we do? I don't want that to happen. How can we stop you from doing it? What can we do?
Welcome back to our special edition of Twin Cities Live. You know, it wouldn't be a television show if we didn't sprinkle in a few stars. Some have come to visit, some have come to perform, and some have just come back from where they started. After all, who says you can't go back home? It's funny, they never react that way when I walk out here. I can't imagine what the deal is. John, welcome.
Thank you, Bob.
Welcome home. I was quite surprised to find out that you were born right here in Minneapolis.
Yeah. My parents actually met in this studio.
Met in this studio? You mean KSTP is responsible for John James? Well, folks, there you have it. You know?
And they were so thrilled to find out that I was coming here. This is my first time here to Minneapolis and to KSTP. And I was talking to my father, and he says, "Gee, you know all about it, starting there and all that." So I'm just kind of going to sneak around and see where my parents met.
It never fails to amaze me whenever we have a big celebrity on the show, how people come out of the woodwork that know that celebrity. People call in and say, "Oh, I was with you in the 2nd grade," or, you know, this sort of thing. Or, "We were stuck in a tree together," you know. Poor example, I'm sorry. But we have, your name is?
Jerry Hallberg.
Jerry Hallberg. Now, let me...
Oh, I can't believe it. Hi.
How do you know?
Oh, let me give you a hug. I've changed your diapers. I've changed your diapers. I was looking at you a couple of times. Did you see me looking at you thinking, gee, that lady looks so familiar? This is Owen. Oh. We were neighbors. When Shelley was born, she lived on one half of the house, and we lived on the other half, and we traded babysitting. Her mother sat with our son, and I sat with her, so each of us could do our chores.
My question for you is, you're a father, and you've had teenagers.
Yeah.
When they've been playing their music loud in your home, do you tell them to turn it down?
You know what? Over all the years that my kids were growing up, the opposite happened in our house. They said, "Dad, will you please turn it down?" Because I would find a record and I played over and over and over again. Say, "Oh, enough already." It was sort of a reverse role in our house.
I just wanted to know, is it true that you once told William F. Buckley to sit up straight on your show?
You're making me very conscious of my posture here. Yes, that was on, in fact, that was on the panel following the day after, and he was in one of his Buckley-esque sort of poses, and I told him to sit up straight because we couldn't hear what he was saying. He was so far from the microphone.
Ronald Reagan is sequestered from the press because Mr. Reagan has a great number of strengths, a great number of things that he does right, no doubt about it, but one of his strengths is not a knowledge of the facts of what's going on around him. And so when you ask him a question, and he'll say, well, I haven't a clue, I don't know. And you say, but sir, it's in the paper this morning. Well, he said, I haven't read the papers. He goes on. His staff gets very upset. So when he walks to the helicopter, Bob, he's 50 yards away. And reporters then have two choices. Remain silent, say nothing, let them win in this public relations effort to only tell the American people what they want the American people to know, or you yell. And often he'll yell back an answer.
Well, yeah, you know, you did this cupping of the ear. Now, this really, he can hear every word that's being said. Is that correct?
When he doesn't want to answer a question, he'll go like this, and he ran mad. But if you ask him something that he wants to answer, he'll stop and deliver every time. One time he was going to his helicopter early on, and I said just in a normal voice, he was going, he says, "What time is it, sir?" He said, 4:15. And it was 4:15.
It took so long for you to be diagnosed as manic depressive.
Part of the reason for the diagnosis being so long in the coming is that, number one, it's a tricky illness. Mania is very clever, it doesn't want to get caught. Also, if you're an actress and you're good at covering up and you've spent your whole life covering up one thing or another, you're also very good at covering the manifestations when a psychiatrist might be getting closer to the truth. The other thing is, it comes with a stigma. I don't hear too many other people running around America saying, "I'm a manic depressive, let me go on television and tell everybody about it." Because the stigma attached to it has been so great as to be devastating to people.
Those were just a few of our favorite memories, and we'll have many more for you tomorrow morning at 9 on Twin Cities Live as we look back on 1987. Until then, for the staff of Twin Cities Live, I'm Bob Bruce, wishing you a Happy New Year and reminding you, please don't drink and drive. We want to be able to share many more memories with you in the future. Good evening.
This one, we record Sam Cooke's Shake. Come on, everybody, shake. That's the way you do it, shake. I was just going to town. We were just going to town. Mr. Powell says, "Wait just a minute, what do you girls do?"
So that was the wrong way.
Well, that was sort of like, not wrong, but you know, it's like wild, and it's, you know, it's sort of like all over the
But
place.
it wasn't refined enough.
No, well, they were like, shake like a little cup. Shake. Shake. I said, now that's beautiful, but it's a naughty step. And I said, whenever you do a naughty step, smile about it, and then come out of it and do a Fred Astaire, such as shake, 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 shake.